Hi, kids. This is Mr. Trice. Welcome back from spring break. I know that spring break this year was a little bit different for many of us, but I hope that you had a wonderful time off, that you had a chance to get out and enjoy some of those nice days that we had. And as well as I hope that you had a chance to spend some really good quality time with your family. I know that I did. I am so happy, though, to be able to be back with you and be able to continue your learning with our next math lesson. As you see on your screen today, we will be focusing and continuing our focus on area and perimeter. Today we'll focus on some perimeter problems. I am going to introduce to you a new workplace station 6B. We will have daily practice on page 234. So if you want to have that open, that'll be in your yellow book. And I'll take you through the workplace station game, and then I will show you what your homework will be at the end. So just some other housekeeping items. Remember, as we go through this, at any time you can pause this video so that you can catch up with whatever I had just said, or if you need to work through some problems yourself, go ahead and just hit the pause button, and then you can continue after that. Today's learning goals are I can add multi-digit whole numbers. The second bullet says I can divide a 2-digit or a 3-digit number by a 1-digit number using strategies based on place value, the properties of operations, or the relationship between multiplication and division. That's a lot of mumbo jumbo there. I understand it, but you guys it'll all make sense, and it'll continue to make sense as we go through it. And then the third bullet is I can apply the area or perimeter formula for a rectangle to solve a problem. We have definitely learned that area and perimeter formula, but I will show it to you again. Some of today's vocabulary are area, dimension, dividend, divisor, factor, multiple, perimeter, quotient, and rectangle. None of this is new vocabulary to you. You've seen it before, either in previous units or as we have talked about it so far on this unit. And then if you look to the right, you will see this wonderful anchor chart. At this point, somebody in my class would say, "Oh, Mr. Trice, that's such a beautiful anchor chart." And I would say, yes, I agree. I really do like how this is set up and organized. And one of the things that I really like on the bottom is how it shows us one of the irregular shapes and how to find the area of that irregular shape. I know that we have done a few problems like this, and we will encounter a few more. But just remember, anytime you have an irregular shape that's rectangular, go ahead and split those into smaller rectangles. And then once you do that, it's easy to find the dimensions and figure out the area of those smaller rectangles, and then you would just add it all together. That is not going to be much of our focus today, but it will be coming again down the road. So first, we're going to start off by looking back at the problems we did before spring break. And these are the answer keys for those problems on page 230 and 231 in your yellow book. So if you want to flip back to that right now, and again, at any point you can hit pause on this so that you can check through the work yourself. You see on problem 1, the missing dimension was 6 feet. What they did was took the known dimension, they multiplied that by 2. So we knew that we had 30 feet for the length on dimension B. They took 30 times 2. They ended up with 60. We know that the total perimeter for this problem is 72. Well, we took that 72 and we subtracted the 60 that we already know. We ended up with 12. The 12 represented both this side and this side together. So that's why they took the 12 and they divided it by 2 to end up with 6. Something very similar to what we did in lesson 2 back on Thursday before spring break. The next problem, they did it a little bit different than I did. And I'm going to show you just quickly how I had gone through that problem. They cut out a few steps, but it might not make sense to exactly everyone. So this is what I'm going to do. As always, I tell you guys to go ahead and draw a visual to help yourself. I'm going to draw that visual, and I know that they already have one on. I'm just going to do mine anyway. What we do know is that one dimension is 199. And I apologize again for my little pen skipping along the screen there. We have 199. Now, if this left side is 199, that means on a rectangle, the opposite side is also going to be 199. We need to double that. But instead of trying to double 199, which is difficult, and as I tell my class, 199 is an ugly number, but it's very close to a beautiful number. And that beautiful number is 200. Why don't we go ahead and just double 200? If we double 200, we get 400. I knew some of you guys already knew that. Well, in bumping up to the 200 or rounding up to 200, we added 1 to this number and we also added 1 to this number. So essentially we just need to go back and take 2 away from the 400 to get us to 398. I'm going to move this down a little bit so I have room. If you remember back over here, the total perimeter for this problem is 738. I'm going to take 738 minus the 398 that we just found out. The thing is, these are two ugly numbers. How can we make that a little bit easier for us? I'm going to give you guys some think time, so if you can pause right now and think of what strategy you might use to make 738 minus 398 a little bit easier. For those of you that gave yourself a little bit of think time or maybe had the answer right away, constant difference is something that would make this problem easier. That's something that we learned in previous units, where we are just going to bump both of these numbers up by 2. 398 is very close to that 400 that we had up here. So if we bump that up to 400 and keeping that difference the same, we bump the 738 up to 740. All of a sudden we have a problem that looks a lot easier to solve. 740 minus 400 gives us 340. If you were to work this problem up here, you would notice that 738 minus 398 is also 340. They're the same. It's just a bit easier to work this type of problem down here. And then the last thing, of course, we would take that 340 and we would divide it by 2. For those of you that don't want to divide such a big problem, just knock that 0 off and divide the 34 by 2. You're going to get 17, add the 0 back on, you get 170. So essentially, we're back to what the problem said. They did it a little bit differently. I'm showing you guys a few more steps, but the additional steps that I showed you will help some of you as individuals if the way that they solve the problem doesn't work for you quite the same way. Number 3, well, we find out that it's simply a square. If you take 125 and you apply it to all 4 sides, you're going to end up with the total perimeter of 500. All right. So as we go on to the second page, we have rectangle D. This is where we start ending up with some answers that have non-whole numbers or just fractions for an answer. The perimeter of this rectangle is 129 yards. They give us dimension B, which is 37 yards. And if you follow their line of thinking here, they take 37, they double it to get 74. And then just like we've done in the past, they take the total number of yards, subtract what we know, and we end up with 55. Now this line here is just them confirming that 74 plus 55 does go back and equal the 129 that we have at the beginning. Now this is where they veer off a little bit. Instead of just taking 55 and dividing it by 2, and I know that some of you guys can do that, some of us might want to make it a little bit easier for our brains. And this answer key right here shows us breaking apart the numbers. In our class, we would call that the Molly method because Maddie Molly loves to break apart the numbers, and it is one of her favorite strategies. And I love that strategy too. So what we would do is take 50 instead of 55, we'd go down to 50, an easier number for our brain to handle. Take 50 divided by 2, we would end up with 25. Then the remaining 5 that we had, we would take that divided by 2, and we would end up with 2.5. You add both the 25 and the 2.5 together, and you get your missing dimension of 27.5. That is a wonderful way to make the problem a little bit easier for our brains. It's not the only method, but it's certainly one that we can use on a regular basis. And then for the challenge question, you see that the numbers were bigger, same process, just bigger numbers. So they gave you a perimeter of 3,465. They gave you the dimension A, which is 952. It's the same process. You double 952. I won't go through all of the problem solving. I know that you guys know how to do that yourself, and I don't want to extend this lesson too long. So you double the 952, and you end up with the 1,904. You take our total, our perimeter, subtract the 1,904 from the 3,465, and you end up with 1,561. Again, they broke apart the numbers. Instead of trying to just divide the 1,561, instead they made a number that's a little bit easier. They took 1,500, divided it by 2 to get 750. Then they took the 60 out of that 61, divided it by 2 to get 30, and then finally took the 1 divided by 2 to get the half. If you add up the 750, 30, and half, you get a total of 780 and a half. Again, at any point, please go ahead and pause the video just to make sure you can catch up and check your work as to what you did before break. All right, and this is the last page that we have assigned. There isn't as much explanation on this page, so I will let you go ahead and check your work on this. Go ahead and pause the video so that you can see everything. This is page 232. And then you can go ahead and click that to start again afterwards. All right, I am now going to introduce you to our workplace station 6B. It's called 6B or perimeter, and here are the instructions. Did you get all that? Good. All right, that is a lot of mumbo jumbo on those instructions. What I find best is just to go ahead and try to explain it to you, and you guys can understand it as we play it together. If you want to look through the instructions, they are on that packet, or I should say they're in the packet that we sent home with you before we left for break. That is also where you would find the workplace station to be able to play it. For this workplace station, you will need a paper clip or just a pencil to put down as your spinner. Unfortunately, they want you to have 2 die, the 1 through 6 die and 4 through 9 die, I believe. You can, if you don't have dice at home, go ahead and you can just write numbers on a little piece of paper, put them in a hat or bucket or something, and pull those numbers out as your random numbers. And then the last thing, they do want you to have 2 of these record sheets, one for you, one for your partner. I have to admit, I don't have one of those packets in front of me. I apologize. I don't know if we have 2 in there or not. If we don't have 2, you can just mark up an area on here as maybe the white space to the side as your second sheet. So don't worry about it. I don't want you to get frustrated with one of these games. Just enjoy it as much as you can. But I will show you how we will go through and play this game. So the very first thing that you want to do is throw your more or less dice. And again, you won't have that at home, so just go ahead and you can flip a coin. Heads could be more, tails can be less. Whatever shows up for you, you get more, you get less. You will mark that down up here, and let's say that we are playing for more. That means that at the end, when you add up the missing dimensions for yourself and your partner adds up their missing dimensions, whoever has the most on those three missing dimensions would win. If you had instead ended up with less, if you add up the missing dimensions here, here, and here, whoever has the least would win. So let me go ahead and show you how this might work. Let's say that you spun for a known dimension. You can choose either spinner A or spinner B, whichever you want. I'm going to spin on A. I don't have a spinner right here, but I spin a 5. So I'm going to write down 5 right here. And now we roll the dice, or you might be picking numbers out of a hat or a cup, whatever it is. Then let's say I pick out numbers 6 and 7. So this is what we do. We look at the solving the multiplication problem for 6 and 7. 6 times 7 equals 42. That's the product. We have to determine now whether we want to look for area or perimeter. Now the rules state that this product right here has to be a multiple of the known dimension. Think right now to yourself, is 42 a multiple of 5? The answer would be no. 42 is not a multiple of 5. Since it's not a multiple, we automatically have to go with perimeter. That's what the rules state. Now, as my kids know, if you want to alter the rules and make it more challenging to yourself, you certainly can. If you go with area, it's going to be a little bit more challenging on figuring out that missing dimension. But the rule state, go with perimeter if it's not a multiple of that known dimension. So I'm going over here to the workspace. I like to, and I'm going to give myself more room by going off to the side. I'm going to draw out a visual. I know that one side is 5. If this side is 5, that means, of course, the other side has to be 5. And remember, through all of this, the perimeter formula is twice the length plus twice the width. We know that our perimeter has to equal 42. In this case, P equals 42. So that means that we already know that 5 and 5 equal 10. We're going to take 42 minus 10. That's going to give us 32 left over. I apologize. I was starting to write 36. It's going to give us 32 left over. That means that both this side and this side together equal 32. Well, if we have two sides that equal 32 together, that means we need to split. 32 divided by 2 gives us our final missing dimension of 16. So that means that this side is 16, and of course the bottom side would be 16 as well. And that would be my answer for the missing dimension. Now, had I done that for area, I would have ended up with trying to take 42 divided by 5, and Mr. Trice cheated. I used the calculator. It said 8.4. That's something, again, if you want to challenge yourself and go that route, try to figure it out, fine. But per the rules, it says if this product is not a multiple of this dimension, then choose perimeter. So if I move on and let's say I spin again, and this time I get down here a 6 for a missing dimension as we go through one more round. And then I pick out of my cup and I pick an 8 and a 4. Oh, then the 8 times 4 is 32. Now think to yourself, is this product right here a multiple of 6? You can go ahead and stop your video right now just to figure that out. And if you really think about it, it is not a multiple of 6. So again, we would be looking to draw a visual. One side is 6. The total is 32. We want to get to our total perimeter of 32 because that's what we will be focusing on. If that side is 6, this side is 6. I'm going to extend the page right here to give myself a little bit more room. We take our total 32. We subtract the 12 that we know. If we do that, we end up with a total of, oops, I apologize, 32 minus 12 equals 20. And then that means that both this side and this side together equal 20. We need to split that once again. 20 divided by 2 equals 10. Our missing dimension is 10. We would do that over and over again. And again, if I had spun something where I had, let's say this was 36 instead because it was maybe a 9 times a 4, then I could have taken area because 6 does go into 36. So go ahead and play that game with your mom, your dad, big brother, big sister, little brother, little sister, your imaginary friend, your dog, your cat, whoever it is. Have fun with it. If you want to challenge yourself, like I said, you can amend the rules to make it a little bit more challenging along the way. And then remember, whoever you add up the missing dimensions, whoever has more, if you spun more, wins that game. Whoever has less, if you spun less, wins that game. If you have any questions on this, by all means, please contact us as your teachers. We will be willing to help you through it. But it should be a fun game for you guys as you work through trying to increase your multiplication and division abilities through using perimeter. All right, we are going to move on. This is page 234 out of your yellow book, and this will be part of your daily assignment. I will take you through the first problem, and then I'm going to let you off on your own to finish the rest of them because you don't. Well, you might want me to solve all the problems for you, but that's not what I want to do for you. I want you to be able to challenge yourself through this. All right, so problem number 1. It says a rectangle has a perimeter of 84 meters. One dimension is 7 meters. How long is the unknown dimension? Can anybody predict what I am going to say first? If you had said draw your visual, you would be correct. So I am drawing my visual right now. It's a rectangle. P equals 84. Perimeter is 84 meters. One dimension is 7 meters. I apologize that I'm not labeling everything. It's a little bit difficult to write on the small screen compared to the smart board that I have at school. But know that labeling is still important. All right, so if our left side here is 7, our right side would also be 7. It goes back to the perimeter formula for a rectangle is twice the length plus twice the width. All right, so we have a total of 84 for the perimeter minus the 14 that we know because 7 times 2 is 14. We take 84 minus 14. Ooh, those are funny little dots on top of the 4. We end up with, of course, 70. And then we just have to take that 70 and divide it by 2 because that 70 represents both this side and this side together. So 70 divided by 2 gives us 35. And that would be 35 meters. So the answer is, how long is the unknown dimension? It would be 35 meters. And as I always tell my students, go ahead and circle your answer. Oh, that's not cool. Went off the screen there. There we go. 35 meters would be our answer. I am going to let you guys now go ahead and challenge yourselves through these other problems. I will show you the answers for those problems in subsequent lessons. And then for your work, you will finish the yellow book on page 234. Once you finish the yellow book, then you'll have the pink book, pages 121 and 122 to complete. And on those pages, there are very similar problems to what we have been doing, asking to find a missing dimension and what is the perimeter for certain word problems. So I hope that you guys understand this. If you have any questions, again, please don't hesitate to reach out and contact us as your teachers. I hope you're doing well. We miss all of you guys and miss seeing you guys on a regular basis, but we are going to make the best of this situation. And I look forward to continuing your learning as I started through all that with whatever means that we can do. So have fun, get out, exercise, keep working your brains in any way that you can. All right. We love you guys and we miss you. Take care.